or give me your full name. And then also, if you could let me know who you're representing here today, whether you're the applicant, the owner, someone else connected with the project somehow, or a neighboring property owner, or someone else from the community. So I will start with, it looks like Lisa Luckett, if you all could unmute on that screen.
Okay. Hello, Lisa Luckett, applicant, here along with my father, Finus Luckett. Just so you know, he has a little bit of trouble hearing, so I may be reiterating what you say to him throughout the thing.
No problem at all. Welcome.
Thank you. Do you need him to state his name as well?
Nope, I got it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. And I see we have Matt Lascheid here from the City Planning Department. Welcome,
Hey.
Matt.
Morning, David. Morning, everybody.
And then Andy Marks. If you could unmute for me. Just need you to, Mr. Marks, if you could unmute. It's usually in the bottom left of the screen.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yep. So I'm here. My wife Judy is with me, and we live next door to Finus.
Okay, great. Welcome to you both. And then I see we have Helen, is it Reamer?
Reamer.
Reamer?
Hi,
Okay.
Helen Reamer, and I live behind.
Okay, great. And if someone checked in on an iPhone, says iPhone 5, is there anyone there that's wanting to participate in the hearing? Okay. And then just for the record, we have Ashton Tucker from the Cincy Law Department who's just observing today. So on the applicant owner's side, Ms. Luckett, are you expecting anyone else to join us here before we begin? Or are you ready?
No, sir.
Okay,
Nope.
great. Okay, fantastic. So I'm gonna just begin by reading through our hearing script. This is going to cover the procedure for the hearing and how the hearing will be administered. And then we'll get started. So this is the April 16th, 2025 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the city. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. The case before us today is case number ZH20250030. That is 6808 Sayler Avenue. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here today, Ms. Luckett, I'll allow you and Mr. Finus to tell me about the project. Generally, what folks talk about during this time is any background they think is important, what exactly they are trying to do on the property, the zoning relief that's required to achieve that, and then of course why they believe that zoning relief should be granted and why this is appropriate. I will then turn to members of the public, so I'll allow the neighbors that we have here to provide any testimony that they would like after the applicant has presented its case. I'll then turn it to the City Planning Department to allow Mr. Lascheid to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report that he has submitted. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicants will then have an opportunity to respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicants can make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents, which is generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who is not present at this hearing. In the event of any technical difficulties with Zoom technology, I'll do my best to try to troubleshoot those issues on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect with the tech that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay.
Hey, David.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I just got a text from David Selhorst. He's the iPhone 5, but not sure why he's not connected.
So I have that he is connected. He needs to unmute and activate his camera. I can ask him to start that as well. But I have that he's in here and that he's actually connected to the audio. So I think, if he needs to participate, or maybe ask him if he can hear us. and understand what's going on in here. You could also try a different device if the iPhone is not working. So I'm sending him prompts.
Yeah, he just texted. So he's able to hear.
Okay. Does he want to testify? If he does, there's also a call-in phone number that he could try to utilize if
Okay.
he doesn't want to just observe. Okay. So the last thing I need to do here is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, asking any questions, making any comments, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So I'm going to do that now collectively with everyone who knows that they would like to provide some testimony here today. So if you could all just raise your right hand, I'll need you to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right, Ms. Luckett, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir. I'll let my dad go ahead and talk about the purpose of it and
Okay.
any other questions you might have.
Floor is yours.
Yes, the purpose of it, of course, is to have a place to put my automobiles and my equipment that I tinker around with, wood shop and whatever in the garage. And legally, I'm not supposed to be able to put one like in a side yard, but my backyard is basically too small. I could cut the tree down. It's a giant sycamore, but I don't really have the width. But supposedly that's what they want me to do, put it in the backyard. My house faces a weird position. It don't face towards Sayler Avenue. It faces toward basically parallel to the subdivision. So I don't have much choice as far as getting the garage and putting the backyard. My only alternative is put it actually the back of my house, which is the side yard, the way it's facing. So that's why I need the variance for this garage.
Okay.
The other variance is for size, and he has a shed that obviously isn't large enough to hold a vehicle or for him to tinker or work on anything in that. So the purpose of just keeping that would be for yard tools and so forth, and maybe a lawnmower. But yes, the position and the size are both variances are needed for him to get what he needs. It's also for quality of life. He's older in age. This is his forever home. He enjoys working on cars. He's retired, so he likes to tinker and he needs that space, which he doesn't currently have an option for.
Okay. What is the proposed size of the garage in terms of square footage and height?
Well, it's 24 foot wide by 40 foot long by 10 foot high.
Okay. So that would be approximately 960 square feet.
Yes, sir.
Total area there.
Right.
Okay. And the height is 10 feet.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. All right. Anything else you'd like to tell me about the project?
The only thing is that it's going to look nice with the house when I come off my driveway to pull into the garage, the one I already have, and put in the backyard. I'm going to have the whole backyard totally in concrete if I do it in the backyard, which is going to be more adverse to the community next to me. I think they'd rather have it out away from their house versus closer to it.
Okay. And could you tell me more about the design of the garage? Is it going to generally match the character of the existing home, or is it going to be metallic or some other sort of utilitarian look?
No, it's going to be very similar to the house. It's the same shingle color, which is a light blue, and I'll have it sided, of course. Of course, you have the wafer board on the outside. Then I'll make a decision on what color on my siding. I don't know if I'm going to use metal siding or vinyl siding yet, but that's down the road as far as the way it's going to look. If I can get the right colors.
And
But,
you're gonna do shingles.
and I have two 12-foot doors on the side from my driveway where you can enter with a vehicle. And walk-in door on the right of the two garage doors. 3-foot walk-in door, metal.
What about the shingles or the roof? No, you don't know yet.
What about what?
The roof, the
What
shingle,
about
are
it?
you gonna do shingles or
That's just
metal
what we
roof?
talked
or-
about.
Oh, I thought you were talking about siding.
No, I was talking
Okay.
about the roof,
Okay.
the same color, light blue shingles on the roof.
Okay. Let me just share my screen for everyone's benefit as we talk through this. So it looks like this is an existing concrete semicircular driveway here. Correct, this is all existing where my cursor is there.
Yes,
Okay, and so you will install an additional concrete drive here to go into the proposed garage, which is in this area of the property, right?
yes,
Okay. And so the technical rear yard of your property, based on the orientation of the house and the lot, is actually in this space here. Is that right?
right.
And there's a large mature sycamore tree in this location right now?
Yeah, it's about 5 foot across and goes up, of course, 130, 40 feet.
Okay. So in order to construct the proposed garage in accordance with the zoning code, you would need to remove that sycamore tree and install the garage here. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. I can't tell from this. Let me see if I can pull up the satellite view here. So I'm wondering if you know how far the neighboring properties homes are located from the proposed location of the garage. So how far are we talking here from these homes and some of the homes across the street? Do you have an idea of how far that is? I guess I could measure it on this. But
That's her property line right there. So how far would the garage be from her house? Like
Oh, that's 300-400 feet.
to Melanie, right?
Yeah.
where's
And she signed it. So we had three of our neighbors that we thought were closest that would be most visually intact with the garage, and they all signed and agreed for him to build it. He went over it and explained it to them. So you have that in part of the documentation.
Okay.
But her property line is to the right of that the big brushy area there in between our houses. And then
Are you saying over here?
yeah.
Okay. Got it.
To the west.
To the west, okay. So this property owner submitted a letter of support, and are there
Yep.
other property owners to the south that submitted letters of support?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything in your proposal to attempt to shield the garage or buffer the garage from any adverse visual impacts for neighboring property owners?
Yes, I have two choices there. I can plant some verde trees along that back. That gets tall and they're pretty fast growing, or I can put a 6-foot PVC, preferably white fence up around that corner area there where there's a big hole right in the ground where they dump the sewage or dump water from the housing unit there.
Okay. And I see that is not a part of your original application, but that is something that you'd be willing to do as a condition of this approval, if this were to be approved.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we didn't submit that because it was assumed that we were gonna make it look really nice based on all the work even that's already been done here.
Got it. Okay. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to tell me before I turn it over to some of the neighbors?
No, that's about it.
All right, great, thank you. All right, we'll start with Andy Marks, and then we'll move on to Helen Reamer.
Yeah, sir. So David, I had a process question. When you were kicking off the meeting, you said something about hearsay. And what I wanted to clarify is, so I've submitted to Matt, and I believe they're in the public record file, comments from quite a few neighbors and a letter from the developer, Kim Noppy. Are those going to be part of the record and considered?
Yes, those are a part of the record, and are writings that were submitted to me prior to the hearing. And so that is not hearsay. To the extent what the Luckett shared about the neighbors' statements, I believe we also have those letters in our record, so those also would not be hearsay. Also, this is a quasi judicial hearing, so the rules on hearsay are pretty relaxed as we go through these, and it's meant to be a little bit more informal than
Okay,
the
yeah.
strict hearsay rules.
Sure. All right, thanks.
Sure.
So also as a matter of record, there's been two City of Cincinnati service requests submitted in the last few weeks, which I think strike to part of some of the, or speak to some of the concern, and David and Helen may reference this. I know Kim Noppy's letter references this. And those numbers are SR 250-43873 and 25, or SR 250-43880. And what those speak to, and I think Judy and I and some of the other folks really, I think what really strikes at the core of this decision is, in Finus's application, he talked about his vehicles, and in his comments this morning, he talked about woodworking. Is that the whole story, if you will? Because if you look right now, and I know Helen submitted some pictures, I submitted some pictures. There's a dump truck, there's a mini excavator, there's concrete construction equipment, there's supplies. So my recommendation to you, the decision made today or shortly after today is that there's a continuance for three reasons. One, to give Finus time to clarify the purpose and the intended use. Also to give the city an opportunity to investigate those two service requests and resolve them, because I think you would probably want to know the information gathered in the resolution before you make your decision. And then the third reason I'd recommend a continuance is, worst case, from our perspective, the large garage is built, it would give Finus, if that's your decision, it would give Finus an opportunity to update his request to be very specific, as far as a vegetation barrier, landscaping barrier, the size, the location, because the location that would help us from not seeing that would be very different than the location to help Helen and folks over in that cul-de-sac to the north. So to say a vegetation barrier is one thing, but you guys know, what's the size, what's the species of trees, a commitment to maintain the barrier. So for those three reasons, I'd recommend a continuance.
And so Mr. Luckett, or to both of the Lucketts, I'll allow you to respond to that continuance request here in a minute. But in terms of the service request, was this a complaint about the equipment that was outside that was made to the city and that the city is investigating?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, well, my understanding is vehicles parked throughout, and also just are we running a commercial enterprise or not? Because I think if we're not, and Finus can get everybody comfortable with that, then it's like, oh, okay, it's a big garage that's going to look better than a pole building, a lot better than a pole building, and it's for his cars, or so I part of my recommendation for a continuance is to get that clarified.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and let the
You wanna speak?
Luckets respond to that.
I'll let you go.
Yes. My purpose of the garage, my daughter has a job in Cincinnati and she stays here quite a bit. She has a car and she is going to sell another car that's here. So that's two cars. And I have a pickup truck and a Jeep. I have two cars. And as far as the equipment goes at the present time, I have an excavator and a Bobcat, which I haven't had it here. I've had it here since I've been here because I need it. I had to remove a lot of brush, redid the whole front yard, excavated for the driveway. And we'll need my excavator to dig footers for the garage. But as far as the future goes on the garage, it is not going to be here, that equipment. I got a place to park it. But right now, my trailers are full of stuff I took out of my garage that I sold down the road. So I'm kind of trapped as far as the house and the surroundings looking nice. I don't have any choice right now. And that's what I'm trying to get this permit to get things going so I can build my garage, do my excavation, do my landscaping, and actually have a beautiful place when I get done. As far as the future goes, the equipment is not going to be here. I
Okay.
have no reason to have it here after that.
The other thing is a dump truck, which he's been using. He has put 30 loads of dirt trying to level out the yard. He has a bunch more he needs to do as soon as this weather breaks, and some gravel as well. So he's been using those. It's just the weather's been holding us back. And it would have been nice if the neighbors just would have asked us before filing anything, because we could have simply explained it's all being used or will be used in the near future, and it doesn't make sense to sell it right now or park it elsewhere until the project's finished. So a continuance is only going to hold up the visibility of the yard, and it's just going to keep pushing the project back to where it's just going to look bad longer. So continuing isn't really an option for us unless we're forced to.
Okay. Let me quickly ask Mr. Lascheid from the planning department. Matt, what are the rules around storage of commercial vehicular equipment or commercial construction equipment on single family properties?
Sure. That's at the section 1403-05, the land use regulations in the Cincinnati zoning code. I'll just read it. One commercial vehicle completely enclosed in a garage may be parked or stored on the lot with the following exceptions. An unlimited number of commercial vehicles conveying the necessary tools, materials, and equipment to a premises where labor using such tools, materials, and equipment is to be performed while it's parked there. So basically that means if there's construction happening, you can have a construction vehicle on the property.
Okay.
One commercial vehicle with current license owned by a resident of the residential property on which it's stored or parked, not to exceed 2 tons in capacity. So people might have a commercial vehicle that they use for a business. If it's a painter that has his painter van, or maybe somebody runs a food truck or something like that. And then recreational vehicles, watercraft, and personal trailers may be parked on the lot behind the front yard.
Got
So
it. Okay.
generally, the code is written to allow you to have construction vehicles during construction, not permanently. And then other commercial vehicles that you own can be in a garage.
That was the plan. Yep.
Okay. And
that was the
so
plan.
let me ask Matt then, if this garage is, or proposal or request is approved today or denied, will that have any impact on what the rules are regarding the storage of the vehicles that are currently on his property?
Potentially, if it's approved and he gets a building permit for the garage, then he would work with code enforcement. But my interpretation would be that the vehicles on the lot are conveying the necessary tools, materials, and equipment where labor requiring that equipment is being performed. So if he gets a building permit and is building the garage, makes sense that the construction vehicles would be there. If there is no variance, no building permit, then he can't have the construction vehicles there.
Got it. Okay.
So
And
can
then
I ask
if
a
it
question on
were-
that?
And
Oh,
just in
go
1
ahead.
minute, if it were approved and the garage were complete, those vehicles would need to either be stored inside the garage or removed from the property completely. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Luckett, did you have anything else you want to ask?
Yes, sir. So without respect to the garage, even in leveling out the land, you need a bobcat and a dump truck to deliver the materials and spread the dirt and gravel. So we would be completely paralyzed without being able to have at least a couple of those pieces of equipment on site until we get this worked out.
Sure. And I think the main point here is that when there's not work being performed on the property, I think this is the concern from the neighbors as well, is when there's not work being performed on the property or that work is complete, that equipment does not stay on the property for any significant period of time, and it is removed from the property or from site as quickly as possible. So anyway, I understand the Luckett's position. Mr. Marks, did you want to respond at all to that? Just on the
Yeah.
continuance request?
No, I think I've said
Okay.
what I
Okay.
wanted to say.
Okay, I'm gonna note your request for the record and I'll include it in whatever final decision is made, but I think that I'm going to deny the request for continuance and we're gonna move forward today on the hearing. So I'll turn it back over to you and would you like to talk about the application itself and your opinion on that?
Well, the only thing I'd say is if you deny the continuance, that doesn't give Finus an opportunity to specify the specifics of the landscaping barrier.
That's correct. Yeah. What I've done in the past and when I'm dealing with buffering and landscaping is that I will add a condition if a project is approved, I'll add a condition to that approval that landscaping and buffering is installed and I write it in a general way that adequately screens whatever the visual impact is or whatever the structure is from neighboring properties. And then I will make it so that the planning department has to also review whatever that plan is to ensure that there is adequate screen.
Can I ask a question as well on that?
Not yet.
Is that okay?
Just one sec.
No, no, thank you. Yeah, because it's not, it's not just me. You've got 9 public comments from neighbors saying, hey, please, please put up a proper appropriate landscaping barrier so we don't see it.
Right. So, I mean, having the dimensions of the structure and the location of the structure, I think does give us a decent amount. Is there another variable that I'm not considering here? If we know where it's going to be, we know how tall it's going to be, we know the size it's going to be. If they need to have, fast growing arborvitaes or evergreens, shielding that from neighboring properties. Is there something I'm not thinking about, a variable that could impact that?
Not from our point of view.
Okay.
I think Mr. Noppi's letter spoke to some other things, but it's already been addressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, would you like to say anything else about the application? Is your main concern just the visual impact of the garage for neighboring properties and making sure that it's properly?
It was that, but it was that in it, Finus and Lisa's already addressed the other concern of, is there going to be an ongoing commercial enterprise of concrete construction business, but they've already answered that.
And Mr. Lashai, to clarify, he cannot operate a commercial construction or any commercial business on this property without approval from the zoning department, correct?
That's correct. That would be a different application and a more difficult application. I don't anticipate that there would be any path forward that we would recommend approval for a construction business on this property. The zoning code pretty strictly limits it to single family residential land use.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Marks, for your letters, your time and your attention to this. It's been very helpful to help me understand the perspective from the neighbors, and I really appreciate you being here and taking the time to participate.
Mhm.
I'm gonna move over to Helen Reamer. Ms. Reamer, would you like to add anything to the conversation here?
Just a little bit. I'm behind them. I'm 300 feet. I have a direct sight line to their home. I was unaware of the reports that somebody had put in about the materials and equipment that's out there, but that has been a concern of mine as well. And my concern until listening to them today was that these items would stay on the property and be continued to be outside. And also like materials, pallets, rocks, stuff covered with tarps. So that was my concern. So I'm glad to hear that we might be putting up some barriers, but I'm seeing two sides. Like Andy and his wife sees one side of the house. I see all sides. So where would that go? I would just like to see that it's on the side and the back as well. Especially if they plan on storing anything outside, like behind the garage or on the side of the garage. I know those things have to be screened from the neighbors. So just making sure that it's kind of not just on one side, but around the back as well.
Are you on the other side of the sycamore tree, or are you on Daniel's Walk, or are you somewhere else?
I'm on Daniel's Walk.
The
Okay,
Daniels Walk is a huge horseshoe. So
Yeah, I see.
Helen's to the north and we're to the east.
Yeah,
would that be 6707 Daniel's Walk?
I'm at 6820.
Okay,
There's nothing that'll ever be built between my property and their property, so it'll always be open sightline for me. And so that's why I have the concerns. There's no trees or vegetation or properties that will be built between the two of us.
Yeah. Can we respond to that a little bit?
Sure.
yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, so this house didn't pre-existing have anything anyway, and we just assumed residence not long ago. So we're working as fast as we can, but the goal is to make it beautiful, and stuff isn't going to be stored outside. It's not going to look chaotic. It's going to be awesome. There isn't going to be stuff stacked outside. He's no longer in business. There is no commercial opportunity at all. He's going to be 84 next week. I mean, this is him having his forever home and organizing things so he can be comfortable the rest of the days of his life. And it is going to be beautiful. You guys all have seen how much work we've already done.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions or concerns in the future, please ask us. We're friendly, and it doesn't need to be brought to an official proceeding ever.
Well, they were notified about this, and I think,
Yeah.
them wanting to meaningfully participate and understand what's going to happen is something that I see a lot is important. But let me go back real quick to Ms. Roman. Is this?
That's me.
You're over here. Okay.
Yes.
Is this vegetation? Does this provide any screening from their
No.
property? No. Okay, so
No.
you can see directly through to their front yard.
She's in a
Yes.
side yard.
I can see the side, the back, the front.
Okay.
Yeah. The only
So
thing
the
I
look-
can't
the-
see, I can't see the horseshoe driveway or the driveway they put in. I can't see that, but I can see everything else.
Okay. And just
That's the
make
challenge,
sure.
because the horseshoe driveway is actually on the side of the house.
So-
So-
So you, Ms. Roman, you will be able to see, this is approximately the location. Is that right, Matt Lascheid? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Yes, I'll be able to
Yes.
see
You
the
believe
side
that
and the
this-
back.
Okay, so you think this would cause an adverse visual impact to have a garage here and your property is up here?
So the garage itself was not my concern.
Okay, got it.
It was
got it.
the fact that there might be commercial enterprise, but that's been answered.
Got
And
it.
also,
Okay,
I
I'm
was
sorry.
concerned that even with the garage being built, that a dump truck would remain, Bobcat would remain, excavator would remain, but they have talked to that and about how it's all for the project. And then after the project, those items will be removed. I don't know if there's any kind of timeline that it's supposed to be completed in, but to what they said, the sooner it's approved, the faster it'll be out of there, right?
Yeah, I think that's generally true. Okay, thanks for talking through that with me. I was just want to understood or make sure I understood exactly any concerns you had. So thank you again for being here. Is there anything else you wanted to say? Ms. Relman? Helen?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I don't have
Okay.
anything else to
All
say.
right, great. All right, let's turn it over to Matt Lashad. Matt, any testimony you'd like to offer?
Thank you. Do you mind pulling up just like the site plan again?
Yeah.
And I'll go through
Yeah.
the two variance requests here.
Yeah, thanks. That'd be great.
So the first request is a locational variance. The zoning code requires that accessory residential structures like detached garages be located in the rear yard. I think it's important to note 90+% of the city of Cincinnati is platted on narrow rectangular lots with minimal side yards. Typically detached garages or carriage houses were in the backyard, sometimes served by an alley or driveway on the side. It's not the case here. So this property is kind of an unusual shape, an unusual layout. It's not the way that the zoning code is really intended for. And then also, as the applicant noted, there's a large tree about where your cursor is on the map. So you would have to remove that tree to put a garage in the backyard. Or if the garage were located in the backyard, which is to the northeast of the house, it would be closer to the residences of the folks that are in this meeting. I don't want to speak for them, but I anticipate that having it closer to them would be not beneficial to them. So having it to the side here is, in our opinion, a reasonable request, and it's, necessitated by the hardship of the unusual lot shape and the location of the existing tree and the existing driveway. Also, the location here is compliant with the side yard and rear yard and front yard setbacks for principal structure, which means that the applicant could connect this building to his house and it would not need a variance. It could be reviewed as an attached garage. And I spoke with Mr. Luckett on that early on. I'll let him, add what he wants, but my understanding is that that was not aesthetically desirable to him. But theoretically, we could approve it if there were a walkway leading from the house to the garage in its current location, or if the garage were located closer to the house because it conforms to the side yard and rear yard and front yard setbacks in the SF6 district.
So Matt, just to clarify that, you're saying if I deny this application, you could come back in with a new permit application and just do the same thing, but build a walkway from here to here, and it would be permitted by right, and there would be no hearing.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay.
You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else, Matt?
And the same argument goes for the dimensional variance. The garage is over it's over 800 square feet. Typically, the limit in the city is an 800 square foot limit for accessory residential structures. Again, I think it's fair to note that that limit applies to lots that are typically narrow, urban, rectangular lots, which this parcel is not. And again, the applicant could build a building of this size in this location as a principal structure, and it would not require any zoning relief. So
Okay.
for those reasons, staff recommends approval.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate your work on the staff report and your testimony here today. All right. Now is the time for the Lucketts to respond to any of the testimony they heard from the public or from Mr. Lashad. Mr. Lashad, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I had one more thought. Do you mind pulling up the staff report again?
No.
There was one more part of our analysis I think is worth bringing up. If you could go to page 5 of the report. Typically, we would not expect to see a garage right along the street, and typically it's supposed to be in the backyard. But I think it's worth noting that the property right across Sayler Avenue has a similar detached 2-car garage with the garage doors facing Sayler Avenue. So a lot of the intent of zoning is so that your project is compatible with the existing neighborhood. And I think there's an argument to be made that there's already a garage like this in the immediate vicinity, and it's a substantial property right enjoyed by a neighbor.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'll go back to the Lucketts. Anything you wanted to say in response to testimony you've heard from neighbors or Mr. Lashide, or anything in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
Yes, as far as where the garage, I decided to put the garage, and I'm kind of sticking by my guns there. If I put it where it would be approved, and I could make it smaller without a variance, and have a roof from the house presently here to the garage. I just think it's the looks and everything else is going to be so much better the way I got it shaped, with the driveway going into it and not making some big long structure that's going to be 70, 80 feet long. It's going to look weird that way. And that's why I want it detached versus together. I'm trying to make it look nice.
Okay,
Can I comment on that?
sure.
I just wanted to say I totally agree with where they want to place it and the aesthetics, and they've done an excellent job with the improvements they've made already to the property. Again, my concern wasn't the structure itself, but just the continuance of a commercial business, but they've addressed that. I saw the plans with how, I'm sorry, I keep looking over at the property. That's why I keep turning my head.
Sure.
I can see it straight through here. So where they're putting it, how it's going to be placed, how the driveway is going to go. I mean, that's all perfectly fine. I think it's the best place for it, and I don't have a concern with that. And they've addressed my only concern, which was dump trucks and bobcats and excavators. And they addressed, putting up some separation on the sides and back.
Thank you. Go back to the Lucketts. Anything else you wanted to say? In closing or
No,
otherwise?
I think we've done everything we're supposed to do. We got all the lots combined into one. We got the plans. We got people across the street all signed off on it. I think we did what we could do to get a permit, but I will get a garage, and if I can put it next to the house or in the backyard, I will do it. I mean, I will get a permit to do that. If I have to cut the tree down, I'll do that.
Okay. All right. I understand your position. And I appreciate your time, your testimony here today. I think we can leave it at that. I have a lot of information to review here, and there was a lot of correspondence, written correspondence that I want to make sure that I fully review before I make a formal decision on this. And so I mentioned at the beginning, a written decision will typically come out in 2 weeks. That'll be the official decision. And if approved, well, let me back up. I'm going to review all the information, make a decision, put that decision in writing. I will then put that decision into a PDF. I have everyone here's email. I will email you that decision really just moments after it's complete, as soon as it's done. If that decision is approved, then when Mr. Luckett, when you get that email, Matt can approve the zoning permitting and you can take the next steps. I will say, if it's approved or denied, it is subject. It can be appealed. So if a neighboring property owner wants to appeal an approval decision, they have the right to do that within 30 days. And if it's denied, you have the right to appeal that decision within 30 days. Or if it's denied, you have the right to redesign the project and come back through the process. Let's see. Does anyone have any questions about the decision process or anything else that I just covered?
Nope.
Okay.
The only just,
Good.
I have one thing. I'm hoping when you get everything together and you can, I'm got a time lapse here, and all I've been doing for 5 months is waiting. So anything you could expedite, I'd appreciate it.
I will do everything I can to get it to you as quickly as possible. I have a small queue of cases from the past couple of weeks that I need to write decisions for, that I'm working on now, but I understand, not just from your end, but it sounds like from the neighbor's end as well, that the sooner this project is, you know, there's not construction equipment on the property, the better off we are. So I will say that for everyone's sake, I will get this out to you as quickly as possible. I'll try to do it in less than 2 weeks if I can. Okay, well, if anyone has any questions in between now and when the decision comes out, I'm happy to answer those. I can't take any more new testimony. So if you think of an argument or evidence or a picture that you want to submit, unfortunately, now that we've gone through the hearing, I can no longer take in that evidence. I need to make a decision based on everything that I have on the record right now. But I can't answer process questions or timing questions on the decision or anything like that. So feel free to reach out to me directly. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address those. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone again for their time and their testimony here today. I hope you all have a
Thank you.
wonderful day, and you'll all be hearing from me shortly.